Good morning and welcome to Kelly's Anesthesia Tips. I was reminded by a very nice lady in my yoga class that lay people don't usually understand their anesthesia bills. So my tip this morning is geared toward consumers and how you can find information that will assist you in understanding your anesthesia bill. So I'm going to try to put this in a nutshell for you, give you resources so you can read as much or as little as you like. And if you have any questions, you can send them through the comments. So first we'll talk about who provides anesthesia services, because you could have a physician, a CRNA, certified registered nurse anesthetist, or an anesthesiologist assistant, an AA, involved in your anesthesia case. If it's a single provider, an anesthesiologist who is a physician, or in some states a CRNA who is a nurse, you will typically just get one bill. And I will show you some breakdowns to help you understand that. If you have a care team, meaning that your anesthesiologist is working in conjunction with either a CRNA or an anesthesiologist assistant, an AA, then you will have two names on your anesthesia bill. Now, this does not mean that you should be billed double for your services, because the payment amounts, we call them payments, insurance companies call them reimbursements. The payment amount is divided sometimes equally between the two providers in the same amount as they would have paid one provider. Again, that is either a physician or a nurse. They call them providers because they provide your anesthesia services. Our first resource is the fairhealthconsumer.org, and there's a lot of good information which we will be coming back to when I show you examples of how the charges are calculated. It's not really important for understanding the bill, but I think the dollar payment amounts are, so we'll come back to those. I'm going to leave us a dollar example here and take us over to the California Society of Anesthesiologists website, because here is a simple breakdown that helps you understand, and some of this is even a greater background than you need to understand, but just to let you know, anesthesia services are seriously undervalued for payment purposes when compared to any other specialty. That's because back in the 1980s, when they set up the reimbursement system, or the resource-based relative value guide, RVRBS, anesthesia was kind of like set to the side and then addressed at the last minute, which has caused an undervalue of payment for us for many years. That's why it's important to pay your anesthesia copays, deductibles, and bills. All right, how your bill is broke down to the insurance companies are based on the procedure, which this is called startup units, might help you understand. Time units, that's for the time while the physician or CRNA is in attendance with you. They are with you before, during, and after anesthesia, and your life is literally in their hands. These don't concern yourself with too much. That's just additional areas where we can, anesthesia may be paid additional amounts, not by Medicare, but by other insurance companies, depending on the patient's age, whether they're very sick or a healthy patient, whether they had to do additional services to help during the anesthesia service, and you will see these broken down by different amounts. Remember that all of these fees are for the professional component of your anesthesia bill. Anything you see regarding the hospital, the charge for the room, the charge for the drugs, etc., will all be on the hospital bill. This is just your fee for service by the anesthesiologist and or a care team. All right, now that you know all of this, I did want to point out something else. Your startup units or procedure units can vary greatly, from a low of 3 units to a high of 25, based on the type of surgery you're having. So if, for example, you're having a simple surgery such as a biopsy or a breast biopsy, that would be 3 units, as compared to having a difficult heart surgery, that would be 25 units. The higher the difficulty of the surgery, the more payment that the anesthesiologist should be receiving. Okay, now let's hop over to our anesthesia reimbursement side. For this, we're going to come, I don't typically call it reimbursement. That's how they're describing it here. It's payment for services. Anesthesia isn't being reimbursed for anything, honestly. All right, so over here we are at the American Society of Anesthesiologists website. These are all open to consumers at these types of areas. And here they break down showing you that with Medicare, taking that formula that we looked at a moment ago with the procedure and the time, Medicare will take the amount of payment, and either if there was just one anesthesia person, either the physician or the CRNA involved with the service, then they will pay 100% of that payment to the one person. If there are 2 people involved, it should be revenue neutral, meaning that when you add these 2 amounts together, they'll pay a 50-50 split, 50 to the physician, 50 to the CRNA, but together that will equal what they would have paid one person. Now, the average for Medicare is so much lower in that they pay somewhere between $20 to $25 depending on where you are geographically. And that's just a rounded amount. It's called a conversion factor. Now I want to hop us back over here to the Fair Health Consumer, so you can see that for a commercial insurance, this is just an average, and it's in fact below what the national average is for payment. But where you're looking at a $20 to $25 range, with commercials, you should be looking somewhere from a $70 to about $150 range for what they will pay for services, or higher or lower. I'm just using that as an example to help you understand where the commercial insurances are paying more of the fair value than Medicare does, based on that RBRVS from back in the 80s. That might be a little more than a consumer needs to know, but knowledge doesn't hurt, knowledge helps. All right, so here we have our example of a similar, this is only a 7 base unit surgery, but the payment may be 4 times higher than what it would have been if it were commercial. So on your bill, if you're a Medicare patient, you are looking for the breakdown. If you're commercial, you may or may not have a breakdown of that. It depends on the insurance companies. Some require them, some do not. But all of them will describe for you whether there's 1 or 2, and it's not a double bill. It's either 1 person or 2 with it divided between them. Now, Fair Health does give you some good information as well about what used to be more important prior to this year is making sure that you're in an in-network for your anesthesiologist. Now, beginning January 1st of 2022, many states have implemented a no surprise billing, which protects consumers, but it's a little difficult for anesthesia practices right now while we're navigating through this maze. But I'll give you the link to the information, and just know that your anesthesia offices should be working on these with the hospitals and facilities where anesthesia services are provided. And our fingers are crossed to hope that insurance companies are going to be fair in their payments, reimbursements for them, payments for us, to anesthesia practices. So I hope that this has been helpful to you to help you understand your anesthesia bill. As I said, if you have any questions, feel free to throw it under comments. If it's something general, I'll be happy to help you. And I would like to end with my normal Be kind to one another, generous with your knowledge. Thank you to everyone who does this. And if you want to be notified of new content, subscribe and you'll get the reminders. Everyone, enjoy the rest of your day.